Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Welcome everyone. I'm so excited to start hosting this year member coffee chat with the topic of how social value can transform your business. So I just want to say welcome everyone and thank you for spending your time with us today. Let me take a few minutes of your time to explain about why we are doing this and why we care so much about social value. My name is Ainurul Rosli. I'm a professor in enterprise and entrepreneurship, and I've been working in the area of social value and impact management for quite some times while supporting businesses to grow. Now, across the years, we realized that people don't really understand about social value. That's how I think, because I was myself don't really understand about social value, that it is not only about philanthropy of doing good, but it is also about embedding impact into your core operation and business strategy. Whether it looks into the procurement, supply chain, branding, things that we're going to discuss today, labor practices, community engagement, and so much that we could think about in terms of redefining the way we run our business. So I know that today we're going to be a very interesting conversation. Member coffee chat usually is only open for members of Social Value Malaysia and also Social Value International. But in the next few months, we are opening this up to all individuals who are interested to know more about social value. That's one thing, our commitment this year to encourage and advocate more about social value in Malaysia. And today we have a prominent individuals. I'm so excited to have a chat with them. So we have Dr. Jane Chang, who is a specialist in social value in Malaysia. Jane, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ainurul. I'm not that prominent, but I'm just one of the rising star, I would say. A rising star. But anyway, I'm the advanced practitioner for Social Value International, and also the accredited trainer for social value and impact management, and SROI as well. And recently, I just got my accreditation for the HRDC as a trainer. Wow, I said this is something. It's a milestone. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Jane, just maybe she didn't actually say she used to be with me in London to to run business growth program as well. And I think she decided to go back to Malaysia because she cares so much about social value for Malaysia. So I'm looking forward to hear more conversation with you on this topic, Jane. And another one that we have is Dr. Sharifah Alwi. Sharifah, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon in Malaysia. Assalamualaikum. My name is Sharifah Alwi. I've got a long name, but I just have the short one is Sharifah Alwi. That's how they put in my email. I'm at Cranfield University in Milton Keynes, UK. And all I do in my life, from teaching to also helping industry, is branding. But I realized that, and also this is why I'm part of your talk today, and I'm very, very excited and very honored to be invited. Thank you to the SVM members and chairs and host this event. There's a lot of things in branding that actually connected to social, and hopefully we can share that later. Thank you.
Fantastic. I look forward for that. So without any delay, because time is really precious, we only have 1 hour. So how are we going to structure this? It's just going to be conversation between the panelists here. So maybe let me just put, yeah, thank you. And we're gonna have a chit chat about the topic branding and social value. So we need to understand better about what is social value, and also how it's actually how the brand can help transform the business through social value. And we have around 25 minutes to 30 minutes to discuss this, and then we're gonna go for Q&A session. The floor is yours, for for the audience as well to ask any questions. So you don't have to keep your question, put it in the chat. We have the team here to actually start capturing your questions and make sure that we go through one by one of your questions, so that you won't actually forget, right? So if you have anything, and I will go through the question and I will then start to prompt it as well in our conversation if I can see it. So let me start. I think as a little bit of background, I look up a little bit, and then also based on my experience as supporting businesses to embed social value in their organization, to become more purposeful, right? We can then see now that from the statistic, that social value is no longer a nice to have. It's a critical driver of growth. People want to do good. And it's quite interesting that I saw this recently from Harvard Business Review. It says that 27% of consumer actually choose a brand that committed for sustainability, right? But it's not only that. If you just simply do sustainability without a clear purpose-driven company, purpose in terms of how they improve their performance in sustainability, that will then lead for organization for greenwashing. So it's a balance and trade-off there. And in the document as well from Harvard Business Review, it illustrates that 19% organization become more purposeful, also gain more profit compared to their competitors. This is quite interesting, right? So we have element about why consumer choose, why company actually can go for profitability, and why employees, the key aspect of stakeholders in our organization, also want to work with companies that is quite purposeful and do good for the community. So a bit of context there. What is social value? Maybe Jane, you want to start that? What is social value, Jane?
Yeah, normally social value, people refer to the, what you call it, the significance that individual have placed on the change that they experience in their lives as a result of certain intervention. So beyond economic factors, at the moment, everything that we refer to, it's about what are the economic factors. But now it's about well-being and being part of the Social Value International, it has a definition. The definition is very interesting. It's the quantification of relative importance that people place on the changes they experience in their life. But I want to add on, as the result of our interventions, our actions. And our actions could be individual, organizations, and how they place on this experience in their lives. And of course, it is a concept now, right now, that we have quite a number of PhD doctoral students doing this. And this concept emphasizes the need to consider outcomes beyond economic profit, but to include social, environmental, and community when evaluating an organization. Just now you were talking about organization. So today is so significant. It's so significant how an organization will be evaluated just beyond economic profits. That means I think social value can be very instrumental in calculating, the return of investment of how it has impacted on the people.
Interesting. And maybe Sharifah, you could actually add a little bit more on that as well. Like, what's your social? How do you define social from the brand perspective then?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jane. That's very true. What we can conclude now, because of the era change, generation change, based on the current research, is that consumer, when you talk about business and profit, return on investment, they buy because not only about the quality of the product, the price, the brand image of the product, and this is also to do, and we are moving on to a more functional, beyond functional brand image, price and quality, or value adding, social. People buy because the value addressed by the product and organization. They buy because you are being responsible to the society, for example. You are being responsible to the environment. You are also being responsible to the economy. But with social, especially, quick example, you are doing wonderful, amazing things to your employees. You are looking after your employees when they are sick. And people are looking at that. It's just you are doing a little bit of CSR, corporate social responsibility. That in itself is a brand image. But I guess people are not communicating that. This is and it's very complex environment. And we have to go beyond functional because it's not a straightforward direct relationship to return on investment, Jane and Ainurul. People are looking into every aspect of your sentences, your promises within it's just a product maybe, but people are watching you. And we are talking
Under
about
promise.
people.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sharifah. It's about being consistent integrity, holding that integrity is just not just for the sake of marketing, and image, but it's about doing the right thing and showing the right thing and doing it. Is that walking the talk?
Walking the talk. So maybe I want to build on that walking the talk, right? So a brand have promised something, and then how do we walk the talk through social value, Jane?
How do we walk the talk through social value? Now, I have always share with my participants, it's not just about understanding what social value is, okay? Now it's about, it has the broader aspects of social value. What are the different aspects? And then you have social value principles, but one thing about social value, at the heart of the social value is about, the broader impact, about understanding the positive effects that it can bring to the community. And who are the community? We are the community. We are the individuals. So whatever things that we offer as a business or as an NGO, social enterprise, we have to make sure that what we do, our offering or our intervention, will bring about the net positive. Now, impact how the net positive to the affected stakeholders. This is where we talk about the broader impact. It's again not just about increasing their pay, but how does the increase in pay have affected their well-being as individual, family, and community?
Thank you, Jane. And I just want to build on that, right? Because of the promise, at the end of the day, if they promise about, taking care of their staff, it's not about giving better rate. Basically, it's more about, by giving better rate, how does that actually affect the way they live their life? So maybe Sharifah, then how does social value strengthen brands then, building on the promise that organization have made on their products?
Yeah. So social value can come in many different shapes and size and types and forms. The latest values that we are looking at, this is a short form called DEI. It's called diversity, equality, and inclusion. And this is one of my research, and I believe that one of the participants from Cardiff University are here, Dr. Zoe Lee. Hi, good morning.
Hi, Zoe.
Yeah, hi, Zoe. Yeah, so she might be adding some of the one as well. Okay, so now, the way we see it, I mean, it's not only about gender equality, Jane and Ainurul and everyone, and it's not only about increase, I mean, because that is the hot news in UK, obviously, getting the pay gap, between the gender is important. But we are looking at from disability perspective. Yeah. So how does companies respond to the society? How does companies also become responsible to educate the society by considering not only taking this disability, whether they are Down syndrome, it could be a different kind of disability, into the workplace, but also employ them part of the marketing campaign. So that is one, the trend that is increasing. And this is what my research shows that, and we have a direct, we are looking at the whether employing disabled model, in marketing campaign, I'm just looking for a business perspective, will lead to people buying more of the brand, which then leads to return on investment. Yeah, we try to go back to that return on investment. So employing a disabled model, does that explain? It's not a straightforward case. You can see a lot of companies are trying to, and in the UK especially, and in the US, they are starting to employ disabled model in their campaign. And it is led by big brand like Gucci, Chanel, and all other, even Jaguar and Red Bull and Bud Light, etc. So they have started to employ. But we are witnessing, because it's a very complex environment, integrity is required, transparency is required, consistency takes time. Jane mentioned consistency. We are seeing also a failure or a loss in the campaign. There's a backlash from the consumer, that the company said, hang on, we need to remove the campaign back. And why is this happening? So we are trying to help the industry, especially, not to rush into social value, because you can't make this up overnight. It takes time. Consistency takes time. So again, going back to the Generation Z and millennials now, they want to see evidence. So one of the participants is saying that, Sharifah, I would like to see the paycheck. How much are you paying these people? Not me. I mean, those companies are paying. They want to see evidence, then only they will be buying the brand. So return on so they expect you to behave responsibly, to educate the society, and bringing back to Malaysia. Are we ready as Malaysian to accept disabled model? Because especially we're talking about exclusive brand, they are not inclusive. But then we need to be inclusive.
Interesting. So the example that you mentioned is on the disabled. Sorry, Jane, I cut you off. So you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I will totally agree with you, Sharifah. Everybody is like rushing to do good, want to show that they are doing good, and then you have backlash. I think that is a very good initiative that you want to show what's good, but it takes time. Like moving, so social value is not like giving, giving what you call it penalty to people who practice, but it takes time to practice and become better. So it's better to do something good than not doing something. So in social value, what we do is that whatever offering we do, there's always positive or negative. It's about learning from the negative and how to minimize the negative and turn it into positive. So here we have what you call the positive contribution to the community. So like you were talking about those advertisements, the branding. So the organization learn about it and then they improve and manage their performance. So this is really good. This is what we are turning our businesses, organization into something more responsible.
So
consistent.
it's the
Can
managing
I
performance.
just add a little bit? Sorry.
Yeah, maybe I'll just summarize that.
Yeah.
I think and then I invite you again in that conversation because there are key points that all of you mentioned about integrity, transparency, consistency, right? And then building on the evidencing so that we are clear about the performance. So we have some issues. We want to do the backlash. We want to move away from the backlash. That's why maybe Sharifah, the exemplar that you have that you wanted to share. Maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Okay. No, I was just going back to the earlier point before we go back to the case study example. So because of transparency takes time. I mean, consistency takes time, and yet they demand transparency. And even then, if you're doing all this, not necessarily they will buy. So I guess the word here is we can come back to this word authentic. Authenticity is very important. You can't make things up. You really need to show that you very authentic. And this is why authenticity in branding are very important. Can I quickly, if you don't mind, invite my co-researcher?
Oh yes, Zoe,
So,
maybe a
Zoe,
quick one.
Zoe, yeah.
Zoe, are
Zoe
you
might
there,
be able
Zoe?
to add a little bit, especially on the backlash case. The case that
Let's get to hear from Zoe about the backlash cases. Is
is
that
Zoe able to speak? Or she's on mute? Yeah. All right. Okay.
Can you unmute her?
Hi, Zoe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you, Zoe?
Hi,
Let
Zoe.
me find you.
I wasn't prepared to talk.
Yeah.
Good
She
morning
she
here
get
in the
used to
UK.
this, you know.
Sorry, when you are in a conversation in chit chat, I will then call in people who can actually add value to the conversation. So welcome,
Yeah,
Zoe.
Zoe is in Cardiff, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So currently, I'm also Malaysian, but I'm currently based in Cardiff. I think just quickly, just follow on from what Sharifah have said. I think its social value is so important in business today. But from our research, we do find that a lot of companies are struggling how to demonstrate that authenticity. And there's so many examples, right? If you look at the news and the research out there, companies that try to do good, but at the same time, they have so many backlash. So, last few years, we have examples of Bud Light. So, Bud Light is trying to do good as well by cooperating with a transgender influencer. It's the same time with the launch of the Bud Light products. But the communities and the followers and the customers is just not buying into it because, companies such as, big companies especially, if you don't have any history or any track record of doing good in this particular cause, consumers going to be suspicious. Like, are you doing it just to jump into a certain bandwagons or involved in some kind of washing. There's a lot of washing going on today. Going back to the key point here, what Sharifa was trying to highlight, authenticity, and also try to be transparent about what you're doing and why you're doing it to your stakeholders. It's not just your customers, direct customers, because nowadays, what companies doing, everybody can check. Everybody can go out to the social media and go to the sites and try to find out, is this company is truly doing good. So just to keep it short, I think social value is so important for businesses today, but it's also a really complex thing. So companies do need to have a much more kind of strategic thinking and not just say this is a one-off things that we're doing because everybody else is doing. So it's not just to become a copycat, but really reflecting on the company's own values, their own missions, and more importantly, the really important things about authenticity is looking at a company's competence. Do you have the right competence to do good in this particular space? So thank you. This is a very short,
Thanks, Zoe.
short contribution.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Zoe. Can I just add a little bit on that one as well? So what happened is that it is and you can do social value, social responsible with very less cost or no cost. And
Correct.
this is you can be authentic. Yeah.
Without having to have an additional
It's
thing,
just
if we are becoming more strategy in terms of how we
yes.
think about it,
And
right? I think that's quite interesting because that's what we've been advocating for as part of. I know Social Value Malaysia have this training on the leading and managing for impact, that putting the unpacking the transparency element on that, right, Jane? It's quite interesting. How do we connect that to the strategy? Maybe Jane, you want to talk a little bit more on the strategy
Yes,
element.
one thing,
Social
another
value.
aspect about social value is that we have, like it covers both the intended goal as intended outcomes or intended achievements or unintended achievements. So they help, like what Zoe and Sharifa was talking about, how to manage their strategic resources, because resources are very scarce in organization, especially smaller organization. You want to make sure that you are both, relevant, whatever you do, organize relevant to all the stakeholders. So this is where the stakeholder being very centric to stakeholders, making sure that materiality is the underpinning relevant to all stakeholders, then we won't get into a lot of unintended outcome. So it will become much more intended. But at the same time, turning those unintended or negative ones to positive. So this is what social value really advocate, principles advocate towards that. So in the form of managing impacts, like what Anuru was talking about.
Is that I'm assuming that would then be the process of us,
Yeah.
take it slow, put the consistency, audit our organization, what kind of values, missions, and competence, and started to be more strategic in terms of how do we want to position this then. Maybe Sharifa, you can then add a little bit more on the authenticity that Zoe have mentioned. Is there any other exemplar that you could actually share? What's happening in the UK that will then benefit our fellow Malaysians here.
So okay, first of all, we already established an understanding that authenticity takes time.
Okay, consistency takes time.
Number one, number two,
Yep.
cannot be one-off. Consistency also required.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't commit if you don't think you can live up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't focus too much. This is also the complexity or the confusion among industries. They want to do good things, Jane and Ainurul and everyone, but they have a list of good things. Let's say environment, they want to help the polar bear in the Arctics. They also want to help the ecosystem, whatever, that's just so much.
Too many.
You've got to be just one focus and keep doing that, and you can add more later, but you don't want to be confusing your stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you,
Go
Sharifa. I remember one of the business model, they want to achieve all the 17 sustainable
SDG.
goals.
Now what happened to that business?
It just didn't come out.
It didn't come out, right? And I think one of the reason is that we have limited resources, right? And I think key point here that we wanted to advocate that this type of purposeful organization shouldn't be an additionality. It should be part of how we do things. So if we are able to integrate within our business, that is actually better. Maybe, you have outlined 2 points there, in terms of consistency. What else, Sharifah?
It be sensitive, overly
Sensitive.
about the environment that we are working. Is again, this social media is just exploding, and overnight it can damage our brand within seconds. If we, but the fact that someone from the company, for example, come forward and apologize in crisis. Just be honest that this we are trying to approach this, but we are also learning, because this is why we are talking about humanizing the brand. We can't stage it through campaign and make it like a robot. It has to come from real honesty, just like human being. So humanizing the brand is important, and this is why we are looking at so many social influencer. I don't know whether we have influencer in the participant, and we follow their life. And quite interestingly, research finding from Alderman Trust is saying that they are not a celebrity as brand endorsement, endorser, is being the least person to be trusted. And when we
Right.
ask the Generation Z, who do they trust?
Is it?
It's
Is that,
them. People
oh.
like you. Yeah, I wish I can show. I mean, I have the, but yeah, people like them. Celebrity is the least one. And yet these companies are so quickly rushing into, I'm not negative about celebrity. I'm not trying to make celebrity not having
That's what the
income
research
here.
says, right?
It's
That's
recorded.
what the research say.
The Alderman Trust 2024 is saying that, and this is from our region. This is quite interesting because we are witnessing more of comments in Instagram in Malaysia, isn't it? They are talking, people are just portraying everyday's lives. So they are trusting more people like them. So these people are saying, if you employ people like just us, the normal people, that's what we want. We just want a normal, that's help authenticity. So that's another example. So
I think,
go on, Jane. Yeah, but so yeah.
I think what you're telling us is that we need to embrace certain things that we do could be negative. It has negative impact or negative experiences, something that we as organizations should embrace and be transparent about. And then how do we turn those negative into positives?
Is that something that can be done, Jade? I mean, based on your experience, how does your work actually help organization to transform something that is negative into a positive?
Well, it's not easy. I mean, we all want to show to our management that everything that we present during our presentation, everything is positive. The minute we show negative, you'll be out of job. So it depends on whether the organization, the culture accepts negative results, and then learn from failure. In terms of entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneurship educator, do we allow our employee to make mistakes, or do we allow negative, and then how to turn this negative into positive? Of course, for a lot of organizations, these will become experimental. In infatuation is that when you cannot make lemon, you make lemonade out of it. So you pivot. So you allow that to happen.
So I just want to ask one question, Jane, about we thought Sharifah mentioned a quite important word, trust. So because everything is about trust that leads to authenticity. So how does building trust? How can we build trust through social value?
So one thing about social value, it is so stakeholder centric. So of course, our decision is not stakeholder led, but it's stakeholder informed. What we need to do is, in social value, we go down to the stakeholder, those we have affected. Okay, when we're talking about affected ones, and we ask them, how does the offering affect you? What are your experiences, whether they are positive or negative? And they will explain to us what they are and what are their preferences. We go down to that level, and then it beginning to have the trust, and then learn to co-create with them. Look, I mean, we have been running quite a few projects, running from the from social innovation movement, the other project. We know that we have limited resources. So we tell them that we have limited resources. How can we co-create so that we can make the community a better place? So they are willing to help, willing to spend time and invest together with us. So it's okay. It's fine. It works. But it takes time. And the most important is we need to be consistent, extremely consistent with our words. That means we cannot make a lot of U-turn because they don't understand us. We do not want that to happen. Yes, we do admit that we make mistakes, and then to admit to make mistakes is one of the most humbling experience for
So
me.
it's like you just have to be clear on outlining the process slowly and be very strategic in terms
Yes.
of how you want to do it. So do we have a question there or no? Okay.
No.
So sorry, Sharifah. Now we're
Yeah.
building on that trust and on the conversation that we've been having so far on building trust through social value. How can that actually then align brand and values, right? So we talk about values, social value, but can you talk a little bit? How can that actually elevate the value of the brand?
Yeah. So this is why we are moving beyond product branding.
Okay.
What Jane just explained, if I can summarize, is
Mm,
corporate branding approach.
mm,
Corporate branding targeted at stakeholders. So,
mm,
but despite you have so many different stakeholders, what we are saying is that don't go to consumer directly. We know you want profit. Wait, slowly. Do good first. Do good consistently. Consumer will come. So sometimes, and the trend, I mean, in UK, they are collaborating with NGOs, big brands. This is quite common trend. That's another strategy for those businesses that have income or you can start small as well for small businesses. Even you as one man show or one woman show. Yeah. So they need to be very clear in terms of who they want to be partnered with. So collaborating with NGO. Don't choose too many NGOs though. Focus on just one. If you want to do cancer research, let's say, yeah, just focus on that. You want to do orphaned, you keep doing that. And you need to be seen as sincere, to make sure you look authentic. But you
yeah.
still need to shout about it. If you don't
Mm,
shout about it, people don't know. You need to
mm,
communicate. This is where
mm,
the storytelling. This is one of the expertise of my colleague just now as well, Zoe. Yeah,
mm,
storytelling and authenticity is important. That is how you can see. And storytelling can have a different message appeal to all different stakeholders, suppliers, government, NGOs, isn't it? They can all have
mm.
different message. However, they achieve to one corporate brand common goal. So
Okay.
this is where it starts from inside to out approach, inside out approach. So we strengthening the roots of our tree, the roots where the values, identity, the employees understand and digest what we are talking about. And every employee is not only Department of Marketing, it could have to be HR and, and CSR as well, or all the department. And that where all the image, you can see all the beautiful image grown over years through communication. And one image is perceived, then you will have that reputation.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, reputation, we always misunderstood. It takes at least 20 years to build reputation. Don't call yourself having a reputation without the 20 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
image is what you have right now. Yes,
Okay.
short
Thank
term.
you,
So
Sharifah. And
this is more long-term focus. That's all. Yeah, thanks.
okay. So that's the one example that you said that okay, choose one NGO and then stick to it and then really be clear about it. So it's about how do we make the decisions to
Yeah,
what,
example. Yeah.
right, Jane? So maybe how do we make that decision that from a social value perspective? So imagine that, giving a handout to an NGO is not, how do we create impact? It is actually a mechanism for us to actually towards
Yeah.
that, right? Can you share a little bit more about the process for performance?
I think in terms of performance, in the past, we give money to the poor. Like, for example, we give money to the students to give them school bags and help them. It does help them with their needs, their physical needs. But we maybe want to find further. How does giving the school bag change their life? Go further and then and try to find out how does it change the life of this child? Or do you want to go further by giving them more training on, for example, they do need AI now. We train them in AI. And then they have from the AI, they are able to find jobs as children. They can create their own businesses. So these are the things we call it investment. So corporate social investment, and these have to be managed strategically. Like what Sharifah is saying, you don't do too many. Don't try to achieve so many outcomes that you want or the SDG goals, but rather choose 2 to 3 and work from it. And it takes time to build that reputation, the brand equity. So if you join our course, I think the Managing for Impact, the standard framework, you focus on 2 or 3, and it takes you about 3 to 4 years to achieve even one outcome. And then the importance of storytelling. The storytelling is not about shout out, hey, look, we have done this, we've done that. But rather, how do we say in a very authentic way that we have helped so and so, and how our one in social value return of investment is for every ringgit that you invest, these are the lives that help them, socially impact outcome that has improved the community by 7 times.
So that's the
Understand?
social return on investment.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to build. I think we are short of time. I need to cut short of this so that we can start having a Q&A session and open to the floor for the next 20 minutes. What I can summarize is actually, based on Jane's and Sharifa's conversation here, is we need to start redefining intervention, right? Because the way we could actually create more value and impact is when we are clear and have a better clarity on the intervention, what type of intervention that we wanted to do, right? And be consistent with the intervention, not like just one off here and there. And then also be sensitive to make sure that we are really clear about the storytelling. How do we become transparent about it, which later build the integrity and authenticity for us. Hopefully, I mean, I'm an advocate for impact performance, because if you want to perform, you really need to put the effort, right? It has to be consistent here. So, I'm opening the floor to any questions. We have these two great chat here. If you have any questions about anything about social value, so here we have Haja here. Can you elaborate on how impact-focused organization can begin to capture value of their work? So I'm gonna open for both of you. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay. The first thing is you can come and join us in our social value and the SROI training. But of course, you can use what called the impact value map we use in social value. So we must know your stakeholders, those who are affected, how their lives being affected, and then choose the way they want it. Always go back to them, how their life have been changed, and then value it, and then indicated by your data. And then you can turn those data into value. And those values can be also transformed into ringgit, Malaysian ringgit. So this is how you capture over time, okay, over the intervention. But of course, you need a very good data evidence. If you do not have the data, you cannot tell that story. You can't capture. And also, you can't make your own story from your own perspective. You have to go back to the stakeholder and ask them, how have the intervention or the products have changed your life?
Okay, if I can just add quickly, if there's no question. So Suraya was asking earlier on, and Suraya, it can be as little as no cost, just doing good to your employees. One of a case study that I have an example quickly, because we need a framework, every organization will have to write the framework to achieve social value, to achieve sustainable, what we call social sustainable, not only environment sustainable or economic responsible. The employees, for example, are sick, the wife got cancer, for example, but it is the main, they keep helping, they get other stuff to cover that employee with pay, monthly salary, but they half pay or whatever, but it's the family still got pay because they got young children. And just because of that, you are already doing CSR and social value. How much it costs? The productivity is still there. People still selling. It's a lolly ice cream in a small little truck. It's a small business I'm talking about. So it can be as little as cost. It's just that people don't realize when they do good things, they forgot to communicate. They need to communicate silently, like how Jane say. So you get to know. Don't forget, that framework. You got to learn how to communicate and shout out. People
But I
always
think I
forget
want to
that.
add. I have the one of my experience quite interesting. That is one business that I worked with before. As a Muslim, right? If you are doing good, hide it. Right? If you're doing good, hide it so that they want to get more barakah. So how do you handle that? Because you don't want to be seen as you showing off. Do we do good because we care as a Muslim? How do we balance that? Maybe Jen and then Sharifah.
That's why we go back to the stakeholders. We don't go and bracket ourselves and say we come up with our calculation. We go back to the stakeholders. Let the stakeholder voice out what they have
So it's
experienced.
not our story, right? It's not
It's
us
not our
saying
story.
it.
It's the
So
stakeholder
that
story.
can push away the egocentric that we are doing it for us.
Yes.
We are not doing it for us. So social value is we are, putting the voices of the stakeholders on the landscape.
That's why we have to be very transparent. It doesn't mean that everything that we do is just fantastically good. We need to talk about those that are unintended outcomes, those negative ones, and share it in our story as well. And then how do we turn it into positive? So this is what, are we willing to do that? But I think the world is willing, the businesses are willing now to go because like what Sharifah was saying in her research, they got backlash and then they try to do better. So these are good companies.
So basically, what I've learned here is that you don't actually shout about us, how we do good. It's about the stakeholders' experience and the change that they have, and also focusing on the process, right? Sharifah, you want to add anything more on that, or otherwise we go to the next question?
Yeah, I'm just going to go straight to Arfan
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
Arfan, yeah, yes, it is. Zoe and I, when we would do this research, we think it's going away. It's just a fashion, this social value thing. We always call it's very trendy, but yes, Arfan, unfortunate. Is it unfortunate or not unfortunate? I don't know, but it's likely to stay. A couple of weeks back, my colleague Zoe had the opportunity to speak to Interbrand, one of the biggest agency that do a ranking on brands every year, top 100 brands. They're quite big. They have a framework and everything, and we are witnessing that even them are saying that we can't move away from this social value, disability. So there is a movement by big brands, Gucci, Chanel, and Unilever, and all of them. We call it the valuable 500. Zoe can put in the chat, Zoe, if you don't mind. The 500 valuable brand. This is a consortium in the UK, in a global, formed by big brothers and sisters companies, to promote disability. And it's time to educate the society. Yeah, because at the moment, parents are struggling with autistic children, Down syndrome, and when they go to restaurant, where are they based? These are your stakeholders at the moment, Arfan. Yeah, the example just disability, because our research is disability. You can choose other category of social value, but yeah. So these parents are struggling. So it's time for them to help these parents by communicating that we need to think about having them integrate into our society and redefining beauty. Beauty is not just about, this is from research, thin, model, slim, and looking a certain shape and size.
Okay.
People moved on already. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharifah. Jane, can you talk about more on the emerging trends? That people on impact that people should be aware of. Because I'm aware that you are also the board member of Malaysia My Alliance Impact Investment. There's quite a lot of happening in the globally on impact management and impact economy.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit
In
about
terms of
that?
impact economy, most of the funders are now looking for businesses that are actually doing good. That means it's configured inside the business model. So this is one of the emerging trend. Another emerging trend that is coming up is about maintaining that. It's about social return of investment. Is going to be part of the true and fair of economic. You call it business reporting. So sooner or later, the SSM will require you to have SROI. But I think in Singapore and in Indonesia, this is already a mandate in reporting SROI for the NGOs. But in UK, is what do you call it, the Social Value Act, where all organizations have to come out with, want to work with the governments or in the borough, they need to practice social value
strategy.
in their organization. Otherwise, they will not get the contract. Because this is one of the examples to care, to have all the organizations to care for the society. So this is what they are trying to, and I think research have shown that it has worked out. It has its influence and impact. The 2012 Social Value Act, it's very positive. One example is many large companies actually have social value approach strategy in their organization. And one example is the weight organization. Ara, can you please show that link? Okay. They have social value strategy, they have social value, everything they do. So it's part of the culture. It's no longer something that, oh, it's something bolt on. Let's do it. Let's try. No, it's part of the organization.
So I think you mentioned about the the True and Fair campaign, and I realized that we have a Social Value International team here. Maybe Nicole,
Yeah.
I'm gonna loop you in. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what we do at Social Value International, and also maybe a little bit about the True and Fair campaign.
Sure. Thank you very much. This has been such a fantastic conversation, and Social Value Malaysia is just doing such a fantastic example of the importance of our networks. And so Social Value International is the international standard setter for the social value principle. So we work on the technical side, and we have some fantastic partnerships to make sure that globally, these principles that we are espousing is also being aligned with other frameworks through the impact management project, through such as and also kind of aligning with projects like the SDG impact standards. And we've got a couple of really amazing partnerships happening at the moment. But what I absolutely adore about SVI is the fact that we appreciate the importance of locally embedded context for applying social value principles. And that's why we've really taken the process of working with national networks to build communities of practice. And Social Value Malaysia is such a fantastic example of it, because social value, the way that it is being applied and the trends that we're seeing, while there are global trends that are happening, it's so important to make sure that it is being done in a locally embedded way. And that's why these networks like Social Value Malaysia are so important to build local expertise, local capacity, but still linking it to these international standards. And so again, you've got this local support, but that's still kind of meeting these international standards as well. And the way that we work, I know if you look at the Social Value Malaysia website, it's about ecosystem building. It's through working with individuals, organizations, but at the same time, there needs to be policy and legislation that is changing and supporting that. And so one of the ways in which SVI supports that is through our True and Fair campaign, which is a really, really exciting campaign that we have that's happening. It's really kind of localized in the UK at the moment, because there is a much more established ecosystem there. But also we are trying to, these are resources that we can then be leveraging across our other networks as well. So the True and Fair campaign is basically, it's policy that advocates that directors of companies must consider whether and how to reflect relevant sustainability issues, such as their contribution to climate change, in their financial statements. So it's that accounting for that well-being that is incorporated. We're not just asking, like, for your financial reports, the money is not just enough. It needs to be financial. It needs to be that environmental aspect as well, so that you have a true and fair view. And so it's such an exciting campaign. There's more information on our website, and I'm happy to share the link as well. Okay, perfect. Ara's already got that for me. But yeah, so there's a lot happening, but really it starts with organizations. So importantly, really kind of, I think, as Jane and Anurul has said so beautifully, being intentional and authentic, and, being prepared to put in the work.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been a great pleasure to have you here and talk about the trends that's happening. So I think one key point of why we are doing this is that we can't actually let Malaysia to be left behind, right? And I think that's where we need to be, starting to build our community on social value, and start to really build the capacity through our nation to make sure that we are ready on the change of wave of where we are heading on social element here. I don't know if we have also another questions there on the effective strategy of marketing. And I can see Sharifah, you already answered that, and Jane, you put a heart. Any other questions? In fact, Nicole is here. Any other questions that anyone wants to have? We have around 8 more minutes that we can leverage. Our panels here. Any other questions?
Just checking
Yes,
on
Jeff.
Pravina. Is Pravina is okay on that and understand that, because I'm trying to itemize what needs to be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically,
So
yeah.
Pravina actually asked about some effective strategies for marketing the social value impact of the business, and how can we ensure it resonates to our target audience, right? Know your specific audience, find the right cause, keep doing the regular audit. I'm gonna say that I built on that audit. It's quite interesting. I'm the accredited trainer for SDG impact standards. A standard that actually an overarching standard that referring back to how organization embed impact into the organization. And what they have is quite interesting, because they have a spreadsheet that allow us to look into our internal processes to then decide where's the gap, right? How do we, what are the things that we need to do? For example, if we want to do more on the certain element of the SDG goal, and then we look backwards in terms of, okay, what are the things that we need? Where are we at the organization? And I think that's the thing that Sharifah and Jane mentioned about consistency, slow and the time. We have a plan in order to achieve a target, and we put in place the plan, right? And I just thought of sharing. I think it's actually available. It's an open source, right? Even though we are doing the training to encourage more companies to start doing the diagnostic and on audit on their organization, so that they can plan ahead, and on the strategic element on the impact performance. But everything is actually open source. So if you have the time, you want to know and explore this yourself, feel free to look online. But if you need some help, we are here to help. I'm more than happy to help you on building that process in place, because at the end of the day, we have a plan, we have a target, but you need to know how to actually achieve it, right? Like, you need to be clear on what needs to be done in order for you to move to the next level. So that's something that we want to talk about. I want to add as well on the trends on the impact performance. This is what I've been advocating, and I'm just taking advantage here as a chair to also illustrate what's happening in the world of impact performance, because we always talk about a company, our profit targets next year for 5%, 10%, and we work hard towards that, right? We give bonus to our staff and sales if we achieve that. But when we talk about impact, when we talk about social element, we always say that well done for giving 1,000 ringgit or pound to the charity, and that's it. And we keep on doing exactly the same thing every in year and out, without thinking about how can we increase the performance. Does our investment there, social investment, actually add value or not to the beneficiaries, to the stakeholders, and whether it actually add value to our organization, right? So that's quite interesting. So maybe one last question to the panels here before we summarize and then talk about what's happening next month. So one keyword, if you have to choose one keyword that summarize our conversation today, what would that be, and explain why? So if we there's so many things that we discuss about, right? If the people here today, they want to go away, what's your suggestions of one keywords that illustrate our conversation today?
Ainurul, you know I'm not able to give you always
No,
the
no, no.
keyword.
You cannot give me 2 or 3 or 5.
Listen,
One only.
it's
One
not
only, Sharifah. Sharifah, one only. It's going to be hard. But one only. One. Because at the end of the day, individual,
not
everyone
difficult.
need to take action. They have
Yeah.
to choose one, right? To make it work. There's no point of
Insan knows.
talking, not talking action, you're out. So one.
It's easy. It's not difficult to do good things. Done.
Okay, one sentence, not one word.
Yeah, one
I
sentence.
want to accept that. Okay.
I know, because there are so many of them. I think they can do the feedback, give some their voices on the link here. Farah,
Oh,
you want
okay.
to say something?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The opportunity to contribute to the chat. What do you want to see next, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Please do that.
And I think authenticity.
Authenticity. Okay, one word is authenticity. In fact, everyone, you can put your one word or your key takeaway in the form that Jai just simply put in the chat. If you can do that as well, so that we understand about what you've learned and then the change that you have in your thoughts and knowledge that we impart to you, and then we can think about what's next, for next month. So Jane, one word from you.
Integrity, transparency,
Between these two, which one?
transparent.
Transparent. Okay,
No, life
transparent.
is subjective. Come on.
I know, it is subjective, but I have to say,
No
okay.
worries, no worries. It's been a
For me,
pleasure. Yeah.
for me, I think it's about consistency. Let's be consistent. Why I say? Because in the next 3 months, we have made a commitment. I have made a commitment to share this, to be consistent every Thursday, third week of the month, to actually talk about social value. That's I take away, my takeaway is about consistency. So if you can, then every one of you put your one word or one sentence like Sharifah did in the form, that would be good. What do you want to hear more in terms of embedding social value into business, right? So I mentioned, I think Jane mentioned about Social Value Act. Jane mentioned about procurement. I think I had interestingly, I had a conversation with the Social Value International team yesterday on how they've managed to support social value, how they manage to support the Social Value Act. And I think what I want is, if I put it there, is maybe focusing on procurement. How do you actually embed social value into procurement, your purchasing, your social supply chain? That would be an interesting thing as well, because what I want to do in the next 12 months is, imagine we have a 12 business unit. We're going to unpack one by one on how we could actually see social value transforming the business, right? So maybe as well, I don't know, if you want to see more of Zoe, let's get Zoe in the next few months as well. So, if you want to see Zoe as the chair, and Sharifah will then be menyampuk.
Sorry, Zoe, for
Please
putting you in the spotlight.
yeah, putting you on the spotlight there. And then Zoe can then simply call Sharifah, you come in, and talk. So if you want to see more of Zoe, maybe Sharifah, you also have your colleagues in Milan about exclusivity, right? I know I heard about
Yeah.
talking about the, how do we
And
create that?
social influencer in marketing.
Yeah, social
We have
influencer.
in
Maybe that's
Malaysia.
something that we can actually do as well, and bring more
Like what we have in
international
Malaysia, like
aspect.
Carola Ming and everyone, the authenticity of it. So yeah,
Authenticity,
I guess the word I'll put another how to conclude. I mean, how to do it.
How to do
Maybe the
it,
next
right?
one, how to
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
how to do it. So maybe I'll park that one maybe towards the end, or maybe December. Say, okay, how do we summarize and how do we do it? Yeah. Okay, everyone, we are bang on time. 1 more minute, in fact, bang on time. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone for staying till the end. And I look forward to see you in our next session in February, third week of the month, on February 3rd, Thursday. I can't remember. I think it was on the 13th. Please check out our website and our Eventbrite and our LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow Social Value International. And more importantly, fill up the form. What do you want to see? What do you want to have a conversation? And we will leverage our network across the globe to bring out the conversation to you, so that you have some understanding about how social value transform your business through a certain element. Today, we focus on branding. Next month, hopefully, we focus on procurement. I don't know what do you want to see? And maybe we also about leadership. If you want to about leadership, you want to have about decision making, we can explore and bring the network for you so that it's actually beneficial. I look forward to see you again next month. Do keep in touch, and have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much for joining us. Bye.